Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is going to be pretty interesting, I
Okay.
think. We're exploring the idea of personal freedom, inspired by this book we got called Discover Your Freedom.
Oh, interesting.
It's pretty fascinating. The author has a really cool background,
Okay.
blending hard science with business.
Really?
Yeah, and after spending years exploring alternative therapies,
Wow.
she developed this whole perspective on breaking free from limitations.
I see. It's interesting how the book itself kind of seems like a reflection of her journey.
Well, yeah.
She started with a fascination for human behavior,
Mm-hmm.
went the traditional route with business, and then circled back to this passion for understanding people in a different way.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump right into the main idea, the matrix.
Okay.
The book argues that we're all living in a matrix,
Uh,
shaped by all sorts of programming, limiting beliefs, societal norms, all that.
yeah.
And it creates this illusion that
Yeah.
reality is fixed, like things can't really change. You ever felt stuck like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Like going through the motions, but not really living the life you truly desire.
The book uses this analogy of a zoo.
Huh.
You might improve the zoo, like make the cages bigger, give better food, but at the end of the day, it's still a cage.
Right.
And that's how the Matrix can feel like a gilded cage that limits what we can really do.
And the book doesn't just stay with abstract ideas.
Yeah.
It gets really specific. Like there's this whole section about the inner dialogue of someone struggling with self-doubt,
Hmm.
where they're constantly bombarded with conflicting advice and end up second-guessing every decision.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Feeling trapped in that loop of indecision.
Absolutely. And the book suggests that this trapped feeling comes from identifying too strongly with the limitations of the Matrix.
Okay.
We think, I am a lawyer or I'm anxious, and those labels become our reality.
So how do we break free from that?
Right.
The book suggests that the key is recognizing that you are not your thoughts, emotions, past experiences, roles, or even your physical body.
Exactly. The book argues that your true self is pure consciousness,
Okay.
something that exists beyond those temporary limitations. It encourages a shift in language, even like instead of saying, I am a doctor, you could say, I have the role of a doctor.
Oh, interesting.
It seems like a small change,
Yeah.
but it can help you think of yourself differently.
That's really interesting. It's like by changing how we talk about ourselves, we can start to shift our whole view of reality.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that actually work?
Well, the book goes into quantum physics to explain this.
Mm.
Quantum physics suggests that everything is changeable at the subatomic level, and that even just observing something can shape reality.
Okay, so are you talking about the observer effect?
Yes,
Like the idea that by observing something, we change it?
precisely.
Mhm.
The book uses the example of electrons,
Uh-huh.
which can exist in multiple states at the same time until they are observed.
Right.
And this illustrates the potential for change and possibility that exists at that level.
So if reality is more fluid than we think,
Mm.
what does that mean for our ability to create the lives we want?
Right.
How can we tap into this potential?
That's where master consciousness comes in.
Okay.
The book describes it as a hidden part of ourselves
Uh-huh.
that operates outside the limitations of the matrix.
Okay.
It's not bound by cause and effect or linear time. It sees the bigger picture and creates through pure energy.
Hold on. I need some clarification.
Sure.
What exactly is master consciousness? Can you give us a clear picture of what it's like?
Think of it as the part of you that operates in the now, that experiences connection with everything,
Okay.
that sees possibilities where the matrix sees limits.
Uh-huh.
When you tap into this master consciousness,
Yeah.
the book says you experience things like synchronicity, abundance, and a deep inner certainty. It's like things just flow.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But how do we access it?
Right.
Is there like a step-by-step guide?
Right.
Or is this just some philosophical concept?
Don't worry, the book does offer practical tools for this shift.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding, but about actually doing it. One of the most powerful tools is meditation, but it's not just about clearing your mind. It's about seeing your thoughts without judgment,
Right.
realizing that you are not your thoughts, you're separate from them.
So it's about creating a space between you and the constant chatter of the mind.
Exactly. And when you do that, you start to tap into the stillness of the master consciousness. Another technique is something called peripheral perception.
Mm.
It's about expanding your awareness beyond that tunnel vision we usually have.
Full hour.
Literally seeing the world differently.
I was reading about this study where they had people count basketball passes in a video.
Oh, yeah.
And they were so focused that they totally missed a guy in a gorilla suit walking right through.
Wow.
It's amazing how much we miss when we're not really paying attention.
That's a perfect example. And the book suggests that by practicing peripheral vision, you can start to notice connections and opportunities that you might have missed before.
It's like you're opening yourself up to a whole new level of awareness, right?
Exactly. And another powerful tool for shifting your perception is the way you use language.
Hmm.
The book gives a simple example, replacing or with and.
Okay.
It seems small, but it can really change your thinking.
How so?
Instead of seeing things as either or choices,
Right.
you begin to see both hand solutions.
So instead of feeling stuck with limited choices, you're saying there might be multiple solutions that we haven't even thought of.
Exactly. That's key to the master consciousness.
Hmm.
It's expansive, it sees possibilities instead of limits. The book also talks about addressing those really deep-seated limiting beliefs we have.
Okay.
One technique it highlights is Byron Katie's The Work.
I've heard of that.
Hmm.
Isn't that about questioning the validity of your thoughts?
Yeah, it involves 4 questions and a turnaround.
Okay.
Say you have a belief like, I'm not good enough. First, you'd ask yourself, is it true that I'm not good enough? Then you look at the evidence for and against that belief.
Okay.
Next, you ask, who would I be without this thought? And
Mhm.
finally, you turn it around, I am good enough, and see how that feels.
It's like we're really looking at those negative thoughts instead of just letting them run on autopilot in our minds.
Exactly. And that creates space for a new perspective, a new belief system that matches the master consciousness. It's like reprogramming your mind. The book also talks about unlabeling,
Okay.
which is the idea that the words and labels we use actually create a fixed reality. When you let go of labels, you open up to new possibilities.
So instead of saying, I'm an anxious person, you could just notice that feeling of anxiety without calling it that.
Right. Imagine the freedom that comes from not limiting yourself with labels. You can explore new parts of yourself and see things in a fresh way. All these techniques, meditation, peripheral perception, changing language, unlabeling, they work together to help us move away from the matrix and towards the master consciousness.
It's like we're building a toolbox for change.
Yes.
And each technique is a tool we can use to break free.
Yeah.
But it's a journey, right?
Right. Absolutely. The book doesn't say these are quick fixes. It's about embracing change and finding what works best for you. Speaking of the journey, the book also talks about the challenges and even physical things that can happen when you're shifting your consciousness.
Oh, interesting. What are some of the things people might experience?
Well, it's different for everyone. Some people report physical symptoms like headaches, feeling tired, or digestive issues. Others might have emotional shifts, feeling more sensitive, or having vivid dreams.
So it's not always smooth sailing.
Right. It's like your body and mind are adjusting to a new way of being.
Uh-huh.
And that can feel uncomfortable at times. But these symptoms are usually temporary, and often they mean you're letting go of old patterns. It's like a detox, getting rid of the old to make way for the new.
That makes sense. So how can we help ourselves through this process? What does the book suggest?
It really emphasizes listening to your body and giving yourself the space and support you need. Things like grounding, spending time in nature, connecting with supportive people. Those can be really helpful. And self-care, of course. Getting enough rest, eating well, doing things that bring you joy.
I'm curious about energy management too. The book mentions that, right?
He does. It points out that you don't always have to take energy from the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you can learn to create energy from within.
It's interesting because we're so used to believing that we need to constantly take in things
Right.
like food, entertainment, information to keep our energy up.
Mm-hmm.
But what if there's an unlimited source inside us already?
That's exactly what the book suggests. It talks about moving away from an energy-deficient mindset to an energy-efficient one. So instead of constantly losing energy, you're saving and growing it.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. How do we actually do that? What are some tips?
The book recommends things like conscious breathing, taking breaks, and setting energetic boundaries. It also talks about becoming aware of energy vampires, people, or situations that drain you, and learning to protect yourself from them.
So it's about creating more energy, but also about using the energy we have wisely.
Exactly. And as you become more energy efficient, you have more energy to create the life you want,
Right.
to step into that freedom of the master consciousness. It's a big change.
It reminds me of something else that stood out in the book, the idea that we can actually change our past.
Oh, yes.
You said before it's not a negative prediction, but more about possibilities.
Right. It challenges the idea that our past is set in stone. It says our past is energy that we can transform. By changing the energy around a past experience, we change how it affects us now.
So not about denying the past,
Yeah.
but about changing how it feels to us.
Exactly. The book offers a few techniques for this, like visualization, journaling, even working with energy healers. It suggests that by clearing the energetic blocks from our past, we can break free from limiting beliefs.
So it's like letting go of baggage that's been holding us back.
Exactly. You make room for new experiences and a more fulfilling present.
This is feeling like a really deep journey of healing and transformation. Like we're peeling away the layers of the matrix to find the real, unlimited self that's always been there.
I like that. And the book says to approach this journey with kindness, patience, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves us.
This has been amazing. We've covered so much from understanding the matrix and master consciousness to all these tools for personal change. I'm feeling ready to start putting these ideas into practice.
That's great. And before we finish, I want to mention something else that might be helpful for our listeners. The power of creativity.
Yes, the book talks about that a lot. It's not just art.
No, it's about bringing that creative energy into everything we do.
So what's different about creating from the matrix versus creating from the master consciousness?
When you create from the matrix, you're often driven by fear or the need to prove yourself. You might be attached to how things turn out, striving for perfection.
So you're creating from a place of lack. But when you create from the master consciousness, it's about abundance and joy and freedom.
Exactly. You're not focused on the outcome. You're just letting the creative energy flow and trusting that whatever happens is perfect.
It sounds freeing.
Yeah.
How do we actually access that flow from the master consciousness?
The book suggests things like meditation, visualization, and spending time in nature to connect with that inner creative source. It also encourages trying different forms of expression and just playing and having fun.
You know, when I'm feeling stuck, it helps to do something spontaneous and fun,
Right.
like trying a new recipe or dancing to music.
Exactly. It's about getting back to that childlike sense of wonder and playfulness. By tapping into that energy, you open yourself up to all the possibilities of the master consciousness.
Speaking of possibilities, there's something else from the book I wanted to ask about. Flower remedies.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us more about those?
Flower remedies are a really gentle way to support your change. They're made from the essences of flowers. And each one carries a specific vibration that can help to balance your energy.
So each flower has its own energy that can help with certain emotions.
Exactly. The book says flower remedies can be especially helpful in dealing with the emotional ups and downs that can happen when you're shifting your consciousness.
For example, if someone's anxious or overwhelmed, is there a remedy that can help to calm them down?
There are remedies for that and many other challenges.
Okay.
The book gives an overview of common remedies and what they do. It also recommends talking to a practitioner who can create a personalized blend.
Got it. I'm definitely going to look into those. I'm also interested in the book's view of the future.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's not a doom and gloom prediction, but more about possibilities.
It's actually quite optimistic. It suggests that as more people awaken to the master consciousness, we'll see positive changes in everything, from education and business to how we relate to technology and nature.
I'm curious to hear more about those. What does the book envision?
In education, it envisions a move away from those strict structures and just memorizing facts.
Okay.
Instead, it sees a future with more personalized learning, a system that really encourages creativity, critical thinking, and figuring out who you are.
It's like moving away from treating everyone the same in school, and instead embracing what makes each person unique.
Exactly. And in business, the book sees a shift from competition to collaboration.
Okay.
Businesses working together and thinking ethically and sustainably.
It's hard to imagine that right now, but I get how it fits with the master consciousness.
Yeah.
Cooperation, connection, understanding, we're all in this together.
Right. The book also doesn't see technology as a bad thing.
Okay.
It sees it as a tool that can help us, not control us. Something that helps us connect, create, and come up with new ideas.
So it's not about getting rid of technology, but using it in a mindful way that helps us evolve?
Exactly. And of course, the book imagines a future where we're closer to nature, understanding our connection with all living things and respecting the planet.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it? A future where humans and nature work together, where we're not just surviving, but actually thriving.
It is. And the book says this isn't just a dream.
Yeah.
It's something we can actually create if we choose to awaken to the master consciousness.
That's pretty inspiring. It also feels like a lot of work. What can we each do to make this happen?
The book stresses that it starts with each of us changing ourselves. It encourages us to do our inner work,
Okay.
meditate, practice awareness, question those old beliefs, and then share these practices with others.
So it's not just about changing ourselves, but helping to change the world around us, too.
Right. The book says that when we live the principles of the master consciousness, love, compassion, creativity, abundance, we encourage others to do the same. It's like we're sending out a signal that can help others.
I love that each of us can be like a guide for others.
Yeah. And the book reminds us that even small acts of kindness and creativity can make a difference, leading to a more positive world.
This deep dive has been really transformative. I'm feeling inspired to step more fully into my own master consciousness and to play my part in creating this more conscious world.
I'm so glad to hear that. Remember, the journey to freedom is ongoing, and it's something we do together.
Thank you so much for helping us explore these ideas. It's been amazing.
It was my pleasure. And to our listeners, I encourage you to keep exploring. Embrace this journey of finding your own freedom. The world needs you.
And remember, everyone, this deep dive is just the beginning. The quest for freedom is an adventure, and there are endless possibilities.